Hello, welcome back to this Groove Agent 5 tutorial series. Today I want to talk about the load panel and how we get stuff into Groove Agent. You can access the load panel from this little yellow button here, and I pretty much have it on all the time. I also have it docked. The docking button is up here, and you can drag it around, but I don't do that. I just have it connected to the main agent. And the first thing that we need to do is load a kit. So rather than doing it from the kit over here, which you can, we're going to do it from over here instead. So I'm choosing the Kits tab at the top, and you can see down here, if we click that little drop down, we've got all of the kits that are available to us. And I want to load a Beat Agent kit, so I'm going to pick one. Now this is a bit of an issue with Groove Agent. It's not obvious at all looking at this what are Beat Agents, Acoustic Agents and Percussion Agents. Now Percussion Agent's really easy, there's only one, it's that one. But everything else is pretty evenly split, and there's just no way to know. I have a spreadsheet, obviously, because I'm me, telling me what the various different acoustic agents and beat agents. You do learn them eventually, you know, it's not that hard to remember. But when you want that really quick reference, it can be a little bit annoying that there's no visual reference as to what the different types of agents are. Anyway, I'm going to choose a beat agent kit. Let's load that one. Now I've deselected load kit with patterns or styles. See this button up here? So as things stand, we don't have any patterns in the kit, and it's just loaded the instruments. If I engage that button, I'll just reset the agent and double click that again. This time it will load all the patterns in. Okay, but for now we're only actually interested in the instruments. So I'm just going to throw them all away again. So that's our beat agent loaded up, nice and easy. Let's have a look at the top screen and see what options are available to us. Style and substyle, to be absolutely honest with you, I don't use very much. However, time signature is really useful, particularly with a lot of the acoustic agent kits. If you're writing a song in an unusual time signature, it's kind of difficult to use a kit if you're going to be playing with the patterns that doesn't actually tie to what you're interested in, and there's no means in Groove Agent where you can convert rhythms and grooves from one time signature into another. So that does have some value. Over here we've got various filters for your factory content, which is pretty much everything, because I don't tend to store kits as entire things. You can see a few of them there. And the Sigma symbol is just both factory and user content. This filter over here for multi-programs, we've not dealt with multi-programs yet, but you can load multiple kits at the same time, and they have kind of synergies between them. And then we have ratings filters, that speaks for itself. This setup result column I do use because I want to see this data down here. By default you don't get library name, and I think that's a really useful thing to have. So you can set that up on the media option, just tick library name and then it'll appear, and you can pick these things up and drag them around and organize this results screen how you want it to look. So anyway, we've loaded Beat Agent, we've got some sounds, fantastic. Let's load an acoustic agent into kit number 2. So I'll choose a pack that contains acoustic agent kits, load one of them, and finally on kit number 3 I'm going to load a percussion kit, and we'll have that one. So far so good, that's all really simple. Let's jump over to the next tab and have a look at instruments. What's an instrument? Well, this only has any context with beat agents. You can't override individual pads of acoustic agent and percussion agent kits. I'll show you. So let's say we've got this clap sound here and we don't like it. We want a different kind of sound on that pad. Okay, let's have that tom. I can pick it up, drag it onto the pad, and if you see I'm moving up and down with the mouse here, but it's only giving me one of these 3 options, the other 2 are permanently greyed out. This is an instrument pad. If you're moving an instrument onto an instrument pad, it's a lock, stock and barrel thing. It just drops the whole instrument on the pad and says, there, that is job done. There are no kind of sub instruments. So that tom is now on the pad. I'll go to a different pad and choose a different sound. Now can you see that it's updated with crash 1? It hasn't actually written crash 1 into the pad, and this can be confusing. You need to be aware of it. So at the moment, A sharp 2 is hit. I'm pressing the key on my keyboard here, and I can hear it. And the reason for that is this option right down in the bottom corner, pre-listen in place. That's what's temporarily putting that sound onto the pad. If I click out of it, if I click onto another pad, it reverts back to its previous sound. So it hasn't loaded the sound onto the pad yet. It's just previewing. If I double click, it will load that sound onto the pad. Double clicking is the same as picking it up and dragging it. And now, if I hit A sharp 2 on the keyboard, that's the sound you're going to hear. So if you don't want that functionality, turn that button off, and now when I select these sounds, you see it's not doing anything with the pad. I have to actually press play to hear that sound, and then if I'm happy with it, I can double click and then it'll load it onto the pad. If I just scroll across to show you the various options that I use, there's library name, like I say, very useful to me. Rating, subcategories okay, you know, it's reasonable, there's useful information there, and category and tempo not so much, don't particularly care. Sometimes if you're using the loops, tempo is useful. Now all of that is all well and good when you're working in Beat Agent, but watch what happens when we switch over to Acoustic Agent. We're still on the same tab. I'm going to turn pre-listen back on so we get the preview feature, and we get this. Now this error is incredibly unhelpful and not actually describing what your problem is. What it's basically telling you is that you're in the instrument view and you're potentially going to try to bring a new instrument onto one of these pads, but Acoustic Agent doesn't let you do that. You can only drag samples onto pads in Beat Agent. The other two will not cooperate. I pick this thing up and drag it onto a pad. It looks like it's going to work, but then it doesn't. So very unintuitive, and you can start really worrying that maybe your sample library is corrupted and you try to kind of rebuild your media bay and you're trying to figure out why none of this is working. And then you're double clicking on this stuff and getting all sorts of errors. It's just because you've got the wrong agent loaded. The instruments page only works for Beat Agent, but it doesn't grey it out or kind of usefully help you to understand what's wrong if you select either of the other agents. So I think that's pretty poor. The next tab across, Styles, we enter really murky territory as far as the three agents are concerned. How they interact with each other as far as styles concerned is kind of hilarious. The first thing that you need to understand is that there are two different types of styles, Acoustic Agent and Percussion. Beat Agent doesn't intrinsically have styles of its own. This kind of crossed drumstick symbol tells you that it's an acoustic agent style, and if we scroll down for long enough, these are a couple of conga and bongos or whatever. This is the percussion agent symbol. So if we choose an acoustic agent style, I'm going to click it, and because I've got autoplay set down here, it's playing that style. So let's load that on to a pattern pad and see what happens. We'll go over to the pattern page and I'm going to choose C1. And it immediately loads up the style editor. Now, this might throw you for a loop because the Beat Agent's not supposed to have anything to do with styles. That's an Acoustic Agent and Percussion Agent thing. But the Beat Agent can play styles. So if I turn this loop on from inside the transport, this style is now playing in the big time preset of this Beat Agent kit, and we have full access to the style with all its intensity and complexity options and all of this stuff. It's all there. Let's load this same style into the other two agents and see what happens. Just realised I inadvertently had global pad settings turned on. So here we are in Acoustic Agent. I want to drop it onto C1. Play it. So this is the native home for this style. It was designed to be played inside an Acoustic Agent, so you're getting all the richness. But it's actually playing all of the notes in the same pattern group that the beat agent has access to. That's really important. If the MIDI notes that this style was playing lay outside of those 16 notes, then they're mapping to individual MIDI notes. The beat agent wouldn't know what to do with that sound. It would be playing, let's see, one of the, there you go, C#2. It would be trying to play a C#2, and if there's no sample assigned, if there's no instrument assigned to that pad, then beat agent doesn't know what to do with it. You don't have that concern with Acoustic Agents because you can't do anything with the pads, they're fixed. Over on Percussion Agent, here's our C1 pad. Let's drop it over there. Now then, see what's happened over here. Let's have a look at those three agents. Beat agent, style player, Acoustic Agent, style player, Percussion Agent, no style player. So Percussion Agent styles and Acoustic Agent styles are incompatible. Those two style players can't play each other's styles. The beat agent can play Acoustic Agent styles. You know, write yourself a little matrix if this is, it's as complicated as it seems. Beat agent can play Acoustic Agent styles, but Percussion Agent can't. So when I dragged that style onto a Percussion Agent pad, it converted it into a MIDI pattern. And this is now just straight forward MIDI pattern with none of that style flexibility. And so this rhythm here is fixed. That's just MIDI notes. Let's do the same thing for a Percussion Agent style. Let's see what we get when we drag this into each of the three different agents. I'm going to turn autoplay off in here for the time being because it's just confusing. So here we are inside Beat Agent. We drop this Percussion Agent groove, this style, sorry, in. Get it playing. Now, can you see all these green lights lighting up on all these different pads? The Beat Agent only has a very small number of notes available to it. There's actually two pads, two groups worth of data in this particular Beat Agent preset. Most of them only have 16 sounds. But the style is playing beyond that limit. So what we can do, just to prove that there is stuff going on those pads, if I just select all of these 16 pads and copy, paste them all in. I'm going to paste them here as well. Doesn't matter how many times you copy them. Now when I play that style, it's going to sound different. I'm just proving that different MIDI notes out of that style are being sent to different pads, and the Beat Agent needs to have some kind of instrument assigned on that pad in order to be able to do something with it. It's playing it, but it's just that the pad is silent. Now then, remember I said there are Acoustic Agent styles and Percussion Agent styles, and never the twain shall meet? Well, the Beat Agent allies itself with the Acoustic Agent. It can't understand a Percussion Agent style, and so we've just dropped a Percussion Agent style onto the Beat Agent kit, and it's turned it into a MIDI pattern. Here are all our MIDI notes, and we can't do anything about them. We're going to go into all of these tabs in great detail in later videos. At the moment, we're just talking about the load panel, and I'm trying to show you the difference between the different ways that you can load stuff into these agents. And that's going to be the same with the Acoustic Agent kit. I'm going to drag the same style onto a pad, and sure enough, it's turned it into a MIDI pattern. There is no style to be had. Finally, dragging a Percussion Agent style into a percussion agent kit is going to give us everything we could have dreamed for. Not very intuitive, is it? But there you go, it is what it is. The great takeaway is that all of these acoustic agent styles that you get, and in the intro video we talked about how fantastic styles are and how flexible they are. You get access to all of those acoustic agent styles in your beat agent. That's a really big deal, so worth remembering. Now, styles are all very well and good, but MIDI files apply to all agents equally. So we can drop a MIDI file from the MIDI tab, turn preview back on. Pretty horrible. Into any of the agents, and it's just a MIDI pattern. And there it is. Copy it over here. And you can see that all three agents are capable of interpreting MIDI data as MIDI data. And you get pattern editors for them all. And we'll deal with the pattern editor, like I say, later. There it is. Finally, the browser is literally just a file explorer. So this is where you can find anything you need. Any file that you want to find on your machine, you can go and find it for any sort of reason. So if we head over back to the beat agent, go over to our instrument page, all of these samples in my core sample library. Let's get a clap, and we'll drag this clap over onto that pad. So this is where, if you've got your own sample library, you can navigate to that physical location on your hard drive. You can pick up any number of these files. If I left click and then shift select, I can drag these files onto the pads and kind of multi-load lots of them simultaneously. In fact, you can actually, this multi-load option applies to all of these pages. If I wanted to load like multiple patterns simultaneously, you can, all of that flexibility is available to you. But as far as the browser is concerned, it's literally a place you just wander around. So this is my core samples folder where I would drag sounds onto my instrument tabs in Beat Agent. But I could just as easily go to MIDI files and go to one of these folders over here, and now I've got MIDI loops. If I pick this up and drag it across, see how it's switched to pattern mode? It can see that I've got something that wants to be dropped onto a pattern. And so when I drop it, now that loop is on that pad. And there's the MIDI data for it. So it's a very context sensitive directory browser that when you pick it up, Groove Agent says, oh, this is a wave. You're going to want to immediately switches back to instrument mode. It says, right, there you go, drop it on there. Just a quick word about this text search box here. It can drive you absolutely crazy. It's so unintuitive, it's untrue. Here I am at my root core samples folder. Let's say I want to find some claves. So I'll type clave. It finds me that folder. If I click my search button, it finds all of the content within folder structures that contain that word. If I type blips pops, I'll go right back up to my root, search, I'll turn auto search on, and now it's finding all the blips pops files from inside this root folder. So it does a recursive search down whatever branch you're on. So this is the useful bit, but actually getting there and remembering what combination of buttons you have to click in order to actually get to this useful functionality is something of a nightmare. So now we can't see anything. I'll turn my feature off. We'll say browse containing folder. We go up one level. We've still not found it, even though there are blips pops from inside the core samples. Now you have to click the search button and then it refires the recursive search. I really dislike this this search function and basically don't use it very often. It's so clunky and I so regularly forget how it works that I basically just avoid it like the plague. You just see what happened then? And then I'll have to refresh and now it'll go off and find all of the Tom1 stuff. There must be something in there called Tom1. It's just doing a recursive search of the entire directory structure and it's starting to come back with results. It can be valuable if you know there's a sample in there and you've just forgotten where it is. You can go right up to the root structure and you can do a recursive search by ensuring that both of these buttons are on, but not a big fan. So that's an intro to the load panel. We'll be using it an awful lot in all of the subsequent tutorials, so I wanted to have an overarching discussion of the various different types of files and how they can be loaded into the various different types of agents and the differences between those two things. Unfortunately, it's a little bit more complicated than perhaps it should have been, but once we know what those issues are and we know how the various different types of agents deal with that data, we can just get on with it. And that's what we'll do in the next video. Hope to see you then. Thanks very much for watching.